Hello, Steve White, Triple White 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, we've had a few announcements for Star Trek. Alex Kurtzman did an interview for Special SFX magazine a few days ago, and he did imply there were going to be some announcements soon. He talked about the possibility of TV movies, mini-series, event series, limited event series, character-based series, and so forth, and a lot of options, implying there are a lot of possibilities. I'm very cynical in regards to that, as most of the things that they've announced haven't happened. But we got an announcement that A Strange New Worlds has been renewed for a third season. The second season will be premiering June 15. Lower Decks is going to get a fifth season. The fourth season is going to premiere, I think they were saying late winter. I don't know what that means here in Australia. I don't know what that means in America, what month that will be. Prodigy is getting a season 2 in winter. I feel like they had a season 2 because they had a break in the middle of season 1 and they broke up the series in 2 parts. And now they're doing season 2 is going to be twice as many episodes. So I don't know how they're quite going to balance that out. It seems a bit all over the place. But my understanding is, and it's been suggested by certain people, that Lower Decks and Prodigy were already determined to have a certain number of years, and Prodigy was going to is basically 3 years. This is what I've sort of heard said, but no one on the inside, so no one actually knows for sure. But it looks like that was always going to happen. Lower Decks, they seem to be renewing in lots of 2, so if it's getting a 5th season, it'll probably get a 6th season. So I don't know about that either. What else did they mention? That was really it. There wasn't a lot. Basically just announcing Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks are getting another season. Picard is ending, of course. There's talk of Star Trek Legacy, which is not quite sure who named it, but it's the idea of there's going to be a show after Picard featuring characters and storylines from Picard. And Kurtzman implied that, but he also implied that they could just do series-based, character-based limited event series and stuff like that. And they sort of referenced Star Wars, and that hasn't gone so well for Star Wars, focusing on individual characters and so forth, even though that's the only way they could go. I mean, Star Wars was about the big battle between, the rebellion and the Empire, and without that, Star Wars is kind of pointless. And Star Trek was about exploring, and without that, it's kind of pointless. You're just sort of wandering around and you're looking at individual characters doing random things in their own lives. It's not really Star Trek, it's not really Star Wars. So I don't know if that's really the way to go. We just need to go back into space and explore space and have an actual objective instead of just random, and this happened, and this happened, and this, universe ending, disaster happened and we fixed it. And then another one, it's like this, they're just all over the place. And just doing that with characters, I'm not sure that's going to really help Star Trek in general for the future. Akiva Goldsman said, basically tweeted some stuff and said to boldly go, because people have been saying that he's not involved in Strange New Worlds anymore. But he seems to be still involved. One of the executive producers, Aaron Waltke, I think is how you say his name, he suggested that they're going to be doing some of the bolder storytelling, and there's going to be old and new familiar and new faces in, I think he was talking about, one of the cartoons, I think he was talking about Prodigy. Could have been talking about Lower Decks, I'm not sure, I've forgotten. But yeah, it's interesting because there was this rumor that they were going to reset the Star Trek universe for the 60th anniversary, and they were going to establish that this new Trek universe is in fact the Discoverse, which is separate but related to the Kelvin universe, because there's the Kelvin universe with the Kelvin timeline. They're both different things. The Kelvin universe is not the Prime universe. When we see Spock and all that, that's actually not from the original universe, that's from the Kelvin universe. And then they've got their own timeline, which the movies are in. And some people believe that Discovery and all the new shows take part in the Kelvin universe outside of the Kelvin timeline for the movies. But Disco would suggest that there actually is a separate Discoverse. So it's a bit of a mess. And they're suggesting that they were going to basically sort that out now. these rumours came from Midnight's Edge, from what I can tell. And Midnight's Edge has a reputation for basically making up stories because they need to. They need to keep their base. They need to keep feeding their base. And if nothing's happening, they just have to make up stories. So that seems to be what's happening there, because they seem to have been preparing this story, and then this other story came out and sort of overtook their story. So before they could establish their rumour, it sort of got usurped. So they just sort of referred to their rumour like it was already out there and known, and really no one had talked about it because they hadn't really established it yet. They were setting it up, I think. So that was interesting to see how that unfolded. But yeah, I think Kurtzman's contract was running through to 2026, so I don't think really anything's happened. I don't think anything was really going to happen. This is just business as usual. They have a contract till 2026. They were planning series and shows. They're going to keep doing them. And this whole idea that we're going to get the contract cancelled and get rid of Kurtzman and bring in someone new, like, I don't think it was ever really going to happen, because it just can't, because they've set up this universe. They've set up the Kelvin universe and the Discoverse, and they've spent a lot of money doing it. They've spent 5 years doing it. They're not going to throw all that away, start all over again. And contractually, they're in bed with Alex Kurtzman and Secret Hideout. We can't get rid of them. We are stuck with them. Our only hope is that they allow other people like Terry Matalas to come in and actually do shows that resemble Star Trek, so long as they still get paid and still have like a credit and a title, an executive producer credit like everyone has. There's no reason why they won't let that happen, and we can't have Star Trek again. But they're never going to let them establish that this is an alternative universe, because they just have this idea that if they do that, they'll like lose the Star Trek fans or something. That's why they didn't do it in the first place, why they didn't say, hey, we're rebooting everything, we're creating an alt universe. They pretended like it was the same timeline because they feel like it gives it some credibility or some consistency or something, when all it does is make it all contradict itself and make a mess and make it impossible to be a fan of the original and follow the new show, because it just constantly contradicts the new universe, constantly contradicts the old show and the old universe, and just slaps fans in the face continually. So they'd be doing a really good big favour to themselves if they just established the separate universes, the multiverse, and just worked in different universes. Now that they've got all the contracts and all the rights under the one house in some manner, they could do this now. So I don't know why they don't just do it. But I'm still talking after 7 minutes. This was not meant to be a long video. It doesn't help that my neighbour's making a hell of a lot of noise and distracting me from everything as usual. But yeah, that's what's happening. That's the news. That's my thoughts on it. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.